Hello there, and welcome to my first weekly economic update. As we move through these very uncertain times, it became very clear to me that we are all being overwhelmed by massive amounts of data and information. Because of this, I thought it'd be a good idea to start to publish brief weekly videos that will look at the most recent economic and housing related headlines and try and bring some clarity. So here goes. Today, I'm going to focus on the US economy and what we can expect to see as we move forward. First off, it must be said the economy was in pretty good shape before the virus struck. Now, it was far from perfect, but the current situation was not created by any systemic economic issue and, in my opinion, has the capacity to rebound very nicely once the virus is defeated. Of course, the big question is, how long is COVID-19 going to hold the economy back? And to tell you the truth, no one has any real idea. There's one thing we do agree on, though, it's that economic activity in the first quarter is going to come in at about zero. But beyond that, economists like myself, we are all over the place. For example, in the second quarter of this year, we all agree there'll be a contraction in the economy and in economic activity. That's not too difficult a thing to predict. But the level of contraction and growth is really quite remarkable. Now, the folks over at JP Morgan believe that economic activity will drop by 14% in the quarter. That's a staggering number. But at the same time, my colleagues over at Goldman Sachs are suggesting that GDP will drop by a whopping 24% in the quarter. These are numbers which we've never seen before. To put them in some form of context, during the worst quarter of the Great Recession in late 2008, the economy shrank by 8.4%. Now, beyond the second quarter, most economists believe that we'll see an additional but fairly modest contraction in the economy, but there are a few others that expect to see a rapid increase coming in Q3, essentially at the end of the summer. Now, it could be one, it could be the other. But if there's one thing we do agree on, and that is the fourth quarter of this year, it's looking remarkably positive. Again, assuming the virus is at that point behind us. Now, turning my attention to the current employment situation, I would ask all of you to prepare yourselves. And I say this because on Thursday, the Labour Department releases its initial unemployment claims report. The number is going to be massive. I won't be surprised to see a figure of between 2 and 2.5 million new claimants. Again, for context, last week's number was elevated at 281,000, and the peak during the Great Recession was 655,000. These are numbers we've never seen before, or at least not since the Great Depression. This week's data is going to start to show the full force of food, retail, and other service sector layoffs, which are very, very significant. Now, this, of course, will lead the unemployment rate to start to rise. But again, I have to add that we're starting from a remarkably low level already, 3.5%. Talking of unemployment, I did get a lot of calls last week following the Treasury Secretary's statement that he would not be surprised to see the unemployment rate rise to 20%. Now, I'm sorry, but I find this essentially is an impossibility. In reality, it would mean that we would see job losses equate, well, basically 30 million more job losses. That's the equivalent to twice total US employment in the leisure and hospitality sector. I just don't see it happening. But that said, I do expect to see the unemployment rate rise. It's probably going to peak at somewhere between 6 and 6.5% in the early part of the third quarter before starting to drop back again. As I mentioned earlier, the economy was not that vulnerable when the virus hit, and that can allow for a fairly rapid rebound in overall economic activity once this situation is behind us. But that said, we need very significant monetary and fiscal stimulation to get the economy back on a solid footing. Now, the Fed has stepped up. I'll be talking more about that in coming weeks, but I'm closely watching Congress to see what they can do and how long it's going to take to get a good bill onto the President's desk. It is critical. I'm going to close by saying that this too will pass, and it will. Nobody is disputing that we are in very uncertain times, but the US economy is remarkably resilient, and it will bounce back. I hope that you found my thoughts of interest. I'll be back again next Monday with another video. I would ask that if you have a question or a topic that you'd like me to look at, leave me a message on this platform and I'll do my best to address it. In the meantime, stay safe out there and I'll see you all next week. Take care.